Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Andrew Saluk, and I'll be your host for today's webinar, 5 Do's and Don'ts Using VinSolutions CRM. We have an outstanding presenter for you. With me today is Joe Webb. He's the president of DealerKnows Consulting. And Joe, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sure, our pleasure. And just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. All of our attendees are muted right now, but if you have any questions throughout the session, please put them in the control panel, the GoToWebinar control panel. It's probably on the right side of your screen. You can see a question and answers tab there. We will take 10 to 15 minutes at the end of this broadcast to answer your questions, and we will send a copy of the recording. I also would like to point your attention to the handout section. There's a takeaway document that you might find helpful that kind of summarizes the points that Joe's going to make today. And then finally, we are going to have a drawing at the end of this broadcast right before the Q&A session, where we'll have 2 winners of gift cards, each worth $250. So please stay on till the end and see if you win. And with that, let's hand it off to Joe.
You gave them a cheat sheet. So hello, everybody. First of all, thank you so much for taking, oh my gosh, I see myself. That's frightening. Thank you so much for taking your time to join me and discuss how you may be able to get a little more out of your use of VinSolutions CRM. My name is Joe Webb of DealerKnows, and I want to say that anybody who knows me understands how much I feel about CRM and the importance of a CRM within an organization. I believe it is the most valuable tool that you and anybody in your organization has at your disposal. And I believe there is a large swath of dealers right now who have been without their CRM for the last 2 days that would probably agree with me as to how imperative it is to have, manage, and just be able to utilize a CRM. So with that said, when VinSolutions reached out to me, I really sort of wanted to talk about when I come aboard and start working alongside dealerships, what are some of the core 5 do's and don'ts that I see happening inside of a dealership CRM, how they can get the most out of their Vin CRM, and then moreover, some easy things that you can do or your team can do to improve your engagement with your customers. So if I will, I'm just going to move this along. Is everybody seeing the next slide, Andrew?
Yes, sir. Looking good.
So as I work with dealers around the nation and I get inside their CRMs, there's many dealers who obviously are utilizing this very well. And then there's several others that I might say just set it and forget it. When your initial VinSolutions launch team came in to get your dealership up and ready, there's been, in many cases, as I see, very little changes from there. You may be with Vin 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, but sometimes I see those exact same processes that have been there all along with nary a change. Some are just underutilizing their CRM, which I think is very common, just not getting the most out of it. And then there's some other elements of VinSolutions that I think people are abusing and they're just using too much of, and they're not thinking about the customer experience as part of that. So I do not believe a CRM should be set it and forget it. I think Vin does a great job with their initial launch, but at the same time, as your dealership evolves and as your structure evolves, so too must everything within your CRM. So, when I join and start working with a dealership, one of the main things I just look at is I ask one very simple question, sort of myself, and I say, what does this dealer need to change in their CRM to sell more cars and retain more customers? And I want you to look introspectively at your own CRM and say, what can we change? What do we need to change in our CRM that'll help us sell more cars and retain more customers? Now, often it is nothing more than just more intuitive follow-up processes and better, more well-written templates, or a better use of transitioning customers across statuses, something we're going to talk about a little bit later. Definitely improving how managers are involved in the CRM, how they use the CRM, how they use the CRM to manage staff, and how the end users, the salespeople, the BDC agents of the world, the internet sales managers of the world can utilize the tool as well. So those are all the core basic things that we're going to talk about, and we will discuss ways to do this well. So I just wanted to use this slide. So when I thought about what it takes to really have a successful CRM, I wanted to come up with an acronym. And don't get me wrong, these aren't in one specific order, but once I realized that it could be CATSUP, I was going with CATSUP. So obviously it's not the ideal order, but what makes a CRM successful for its dealerships, for its end users, is often the content within it, the messaging that goes in it, the text messaging, the email messaging, how they're utilizing their CRM to hold their team accountable, what type of training they consistently do, not just initially, but they consistently require of their team to understand the best practices of that CRM. Initially, obviously, how it is set up, if they're setting it up the right way, not just for every dealership, but for their specific dealership, how they're utilizing it, how well their team uses it, if they're getting the most out of that CRM, and lastly, the processes that are built within, how they're engaging in every single interview or interval and every single event, how they're engaging and when they're engaging and what they're engaging with when they're connecting with these customers. So as I sort of put together the 5 do's and don'ts, and I will tell you, most of the do's involve properly setting up your store's CRM for how you operate. As I said, every single dealership is a little different. Every single dealership has some different roles that they want to make sure are utilizing the CRM in a way that's unique to their store or giving a customer a unique experience. And I think that's one thing that we all need to do as larger groups come in, as manufacturers get more involved. I would say we still need to find a way to differentiate ourselves at the dealership level when it comes to engaging with our customers. Now, a couple things that I believe are 100% non-negotiable. These are not part of my 5 do's. These are non-negotiables. Something I am the biggest proponent of is video. It is 2024. I was sending videos to customers 19 years ago. Anyone who is not utilizing video within the CRM or communicating with customers with video is either extremely lazy or will be obsolete. That's not one of my 5 to-dos. It's just something that you need to invest the money, the time, the effort, and the support in to make sure that you are connecting with customers every single way you can through the digital assets on your website, through the other elements that you have that you can utilize video through, and most specifically through your CRM. So whether or not you utilize the Flick Fusion integration that VinSolutions has to make it easier and do it through the tool, or an outside tool, you need to be embracing video. Another non-negotiable, and this definitely involves VinSolutions, is that all text communication that occurs, really all email communication as well, that occurs with a prospect or any customer needs to happen through the app or through the desktop client. But you should not allow your team to be utilizing their own devices unless to contact customers, unless they're communicating with them through the app. FTC, I'm not a lawyer, but FTC should scare the crap out of most people. It definitely scares me. And to know that we might be passing customer information or personal information back and forth through a insecure email client, God forbid a salesperson's personal email address or personal cell phone number. Those are things that ideally cannot happen, and you need to communicate through the app. So moving on to what I believe to be my number 1 do is that you need to understand that different processes, and this has to do with setup, different processes, prospects absolutely require different follow-up. Not all customers are created equal. The way they contact you, the channel with which they contact you through, all likely gives you an indicator about how they want to communicate and what they've seen in advance of contacting you. So number one is utilize the custom rules that are inside your CRM. Under ILM CRM settings, go and choose every single event that happens there. You need multiple custom rules. I visit stores very regularly where I see only 3 to 5 custom rules, but this is sort of a map on how somebody wants to buy a car, and there are far more than 3 to 5 paths a customer needs. So, and these are just some of the custom rules that we have at DealerKnows when it comes to, very specific to lead source. If it's a lead type, new and used can have different follow-ups. Auto Trader Tim, which is now KBB ICO, needs far different follow-up than even if you have another trade tool that has a different messaging needs to happen there. Whether that customer contacted you first via SMS chat versus just regular chat, those need different follow-up. Whether they contact you through TrueCar or Car Gurus or Cars.com, those all can require a completely different path and completely different messaging in which to contact customers, because we are trying to give customers a very customized experience that they know that we are in tune with them on what research they've done, how they've chosen to communicate with us and initialize that engagement. And we need to follow suit, because every single different follow-up, whether it be payoff leads, whether they didn't specify exactly what type of vehicle it was, whether they're just looking to sell their vehicle outright, whether they're looking to buy out the lease, whether it's just a credit card lead, whether it's a digital retailing style lead versus a typical used car inventory off your website type of lead. Every single one of those needs a different path created for them inside your custom rules. So make sure you're utilizing your custom rules. The second do that I have is create multiple custom statuses to keep all shoppers on the right track. So once engagement occurs, and we'll talk about engagement a little bit, but once engagement occurs with a prospect, you cannot always keep that customer on the right track. Sure, when you set an appointment for that customer in the CRM, it will automatically slide over to the appointment set process, appointment scheduled process. But with that said, sometimes an engagement shows significant involvement, sometimes it does not. Sometimes that engagement involves the customer sharing with you information about their time frame, their buying time frame. Hey, I'm going to buy it within a week to 10 days. There needs to be a different track, a custom status that's assigned to a different process, that if they've indicated their time frame is a week to 10 days, that is significantly different than if a customer tells me they're a few weeks out from buying. The follow-up is going to be different. The cadence is going to be different. So I'm going to be reaching out to them through more mediums in a shorter time frame versus if somebody says they're a few months out and they're just starting to look. So as you can see on the screen, there's countless different statuses that you need to. There's no point really having a custom status you flip a customer to, unless you're going into the lead status setup and attaching a process to it. But look at the statuses that exist in VinSolutions and the fact that you can forward customers over to these as a choose your own adventure. Yeah, if anybody's old enough like me, as you can see from the gray hair, that a choose your own adventure book, different things happen in your life cycle with a customer, and the information they share with you can absolutely redirect how the customer needs to be followed up with. And you need to utilize the custom statuses within Vin to do that. Whether they be, hey, they've alerted me that they're a long distance, that they live far away. Well, in that case, you should have one that you can slide customers into, so the language that goes out to them isn't about inviting them in for a test drive or when they can stop in for their trade, because they live 7 hours away and it may not be convenient for that. So the language that you're going to use needs to change as part of that. So there's several different statuses that you can build that's right for you and your stores and your customers, and they all need to be attached to a different follow-up process that would exist under your custom follow-up process section in ILM CRM settings. So, and one of the things that I'm gonna go that leads into number 3 is I'd love to just ask a brief question, and unless Andrew, you wanted to ask the question.
Sure, yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Joe. So the question is, since you launched VinSolutions, has anyone who had an admin or managerial role been fired, left, or changed roles? You can choose yes, no, or who knows, depending on what's applicable for your dealership. And we'll close the poll in just a couple seconds after we have people have the chance to participate. And really, by the way, I really appreciate the audience chiming in and sharing their experience here. Thank you.
So the reason I asked this question will lead into number 3 here, but as you will find, oh gosh, I hate having to look at myself. As you will find, as you will find, for some people will go in with access to the CRM and they will hard code their name into templates, or they will go and they will assign and hard code their name and do process tasks, or they will go and have very unique elements that are built into your processes, built into your setup, or just their users that disappear once they're removed from the CRM. So that is why it's very important that you go back through and analyze what I will say. Can I flip over to the next one, or are you still going?
So, yeah, sorry, Joe, just to chime in, with what you're saying right there, right now, more than half of the audience, 56%, said that it's true that someone with an admin or managerial role has left or been fired since they launched with VinSolutions. So what you're describing could apply to a significant part of the audience. And go ahead.
No, everybody discovers this too late. You know, everybody. It happens to us and our clients. I will get a call saying an email is going out with, you know, a former general manager's name on it. So instead of just utilizing the tokens or the merge insert fields for general manager signature or general manager first name or any of those things, they chose to go in and hard code it. And go in and either write it inside the templates, or they will go and assign that task only to them. So once their name is no longer in it, nothing is firing. So the way to prevent this that I think everybody can very easily do is when you go into your process tools on the right-hand side under ILM CRM settings, so settings, ILM CRM settings, at the bottom, it'll show you a little button that says Analyze Processes. This is something that you should probably do maybe once a month. It doesn't, and once you start doing it, it doesn't take long. The first time you do it, it will be like ripping off a Band-Aid. But once you click on that, VinSolutions will automatically show you some alerts that'll say these tasks are not functioning in the CRM because of a different reason. So some you'll need to go back in, find why it's not happening, and the others it'll give you a quick little link that'll allow you to go straight to that task and realize, okay, Janet hard-coded her name. Bob assigned this task only to him, or gosh forbid, nobody is assigned as the CSI agent, but indeed there are CSI agent tasks in the CRM that we need to give that title to somebody on the user types. So it doesn't take long. It'll take long the first time you do it if you haven't done it in a long time. But the last thing you want is the wrong information going out to your customers, or you want things that you believe at this time are critical for us to reach out and engage with these shoppers, but nothing is happening because we have the wrong content or we have the wrong person assigned to it. So urge you to go in, fix that do. The next do is something that I got from VinSolutions. I got from a VinSolutions performance manager maybe 12 plus years ago, and that is just utilizing, I think everybody knows, if you go onto your activity dashboard right now, and on the right hand side you see everybody with an overdue task. There's going to be people with several overdue tasks. What I would say is some of those are really important tasks because as end users, they typically don't organize their task list by age. They don't organize their task list by task type. So they might not always know what those lowest hanging fruit tasks are. So go into your CRM and build out, and your Vin PM can show you how to do it. Build out some secondary small images. So as I instruct the dealers that we work with, if you are going through your task list, and that's going to be a great part of your job, then you can tell just by identifying those secondary images that with those secondary images, you can say, what are my priorities? These are the things that are on the most recent customers. These are ones that are critical to be able to set appointments and sell cars and or to retain customers. Not every single task is critical, I will admit it. You'd like to say they are? Let's face it, they aren't. But definitely those early tasks need to be given a visual prioritization. And then moreover, if you can see how much I write, and granted, as you can tell, I already fancy myself a little bit loquacious, too loquacious, if I may. So I try to write not just the what and the when underneath the explanation. So if it's an automated task, it can be right to the point. It can be short. But I get frustrated when I see something that says day 3 call, day 9 email, and then either nothing is automatically populating when you click that task on your task list, no phone script is popping up associated with that task, or it's not allowing the end user any insight as to the why. Why am I creating this task? Where are we at in the process? What is going on through that customer's mind? Because I think if you just take the time to set them up and prepare them for the why of the call or the why of the completion of the task, more than just the what and the when, it'll allow them to have more fully realized conversations with your prospects. So make sure you're utilizing, as you go through your task list, or sorry, as you go through your processes, make sure that you think about, what can I instruct within, and there is a character count that you can go beyond. I've learned that. But what can I go and add into this little description box that will give them more insight into how best to engage with this customer? And again, the one thing I want to say, as you can see here, from text tasks, I'll freely admit I'm not a big lover of automating text, especially with the FTC. But there are some things that I do believe are critical for you to use. Mention the template name, mention the time frames. But I also want you to understand the importance of signing up for VinSolutions SMS texting and their VinSolutions click to call, or a click to call tool, just because by now we all realize how necessary it is to text customers, and to sign up with Vin's SMS texting to be able to do it through this tool is very important. And the VinSolutions click to call, or sorry, call tracking, if I will say, sorry, Vin's call tracking will allow you to make sure that when your team is actually completing, well, when your team clicks that they've completed a phone call, it attaches with it a duration, it attaches with it a recording. You can go back and hear what they said, provided they're leaving voicemail messages as they should, and you see that they actually are doing the tasks that you have gone and set up for them to do. So that is where accountability comes into play, is to make sure you're using that VIN call tracking. Next up, the last do, if you will, is something I feel doesn't get utilized near enough, and that is manager involvement in utilizing the CRM to ensure they're actually managing their team. I've said it 1,000 times in my career that I think there's a lot of people with the title of manager and not near enough management happening inside CRMs. So in my opinion, the primary goals of a sales manager in today's dealership involves just 3 or 4 things, and that is most specifically, well, I will say desking and or closing deals. So let's face it, with AI, we're probably 3 or 4 years away from having AI being able to desk better than any manager. They need to be able to crash TOs to close deals and stop just sending the salesperson back time after time after time, loading their lips and not getting out of their chair and going and meeting with the customer themselves. And lastly, it's utilizing the CRM to actually manage their team. If the only time your managers ever engage with your salespeople is when they're taking a lunch order or giving a lunch order, or when that person has a deal and they're coming to the desk, then they're not managing the right way. They need to utilize, in my opinion, the coaching dashboard inside the CRM. And this can be done. We have stores doing this every single day. It takes 5 minutes to 10 minutes with each individual salesperson. So you can divide it up across your sales managers. You go to the coaching dashboard for salespeople. You click the active to assign one individual person. And then you will essentially search. In my opinion, I always go and default it to 30 days. I default to month to date. Don't allow it to be month to date. Set it down to previous 30 days. You want to see exactly when you sit down for a one-on-one coaching opportunity with your salespeople. You want to know, hey, what are they tracking? What are they forecasting? How many opportunities do they have? Because right there at the bottom, it'll show you, you want to know how many people do they have in the funnel that are active people. And then I want to know who's hot. Now, this is one element of Vin that doesn't get used enough, and that is the little campfire. In my opinion, every single salesperson or BDC agent or anybody that has engagement with a prospect and has any back and forth, they've engaged with them, they click that little campfire. To me, that allows me to know any active conversations that are going on, or moreover, what people they're having any type of engagement with. I can look at this right now and I say, okay, great. This salesperson is on track to sell 19 cars for the month. Great. They've got, as this says, and my eyes are, again, I'm old, so it's blind, but I think this says 93 total opportunities, 93 total active customers that are in their database. But then they only have 6 hot. So to me, that means there's no way that a person who has 93 active opportunities has only engaged and has significant conversation with 6 people. That's not possible. So are they not marking it enough? Are they marking people lost too early or bad too early? Where are they getting those from? But I can sit down very quickly, because if you click that little button of hot, it'll immediately show you all 6 people, should be more, but all 6 people, and it'll allow you to either, as a manager, pick up the phone and call the customer yourself, or, which I know most of you would prefer, it will allow you to just go and address it with them. Where are we at in the deal? What can I do to go and help you sell this customer right now? More money in a trade. You know, this is what you should be saying. This is what you've not done. But this is what you can do as a manager to coach your person to pick up extra deals every other day, every week, every month. And then you also know, hey, who can you get involved with? Here's active customers without recent engagement. You might want to instruct them, hey, I noticed you haven't texted them in 5 or 6 days. Please send them this as a text. Or you could just look just to the right, active leads with engagement. These are people that your team members are having conversation with. What can I do to turn those people into a sale right away? And then you can, again, who can you put back to the mix? Who shows as an active lead for this person without any future follow-up? If there's any names under there, assign them to a custom status that in turn will assign them to a custom process. So there are things that you as managers need to do every single day with your team, utilizing the coaching dashboard in VinSolutions that will allow you to pick up sales additional every single month with nothing more than 5 to 10 minutes inside the coaching dashboard per employee that you have. But it takes doing it to actually make those deals. And then if you want to do a one-on-one sort of save a deal meeting, even if it's once a week, go to the desk log, pull up that exact individual salesperson under the user, go to the, make sure it's your dealership. Obviously, I have access to several, but a user, and you can go through and say, hey, here are the people you've sold to. Great job. Here's an active lead. You've got engagement with them. They've been in the showroom. What do I need to do to turn this around? What do we need to do to bring this back in? But that, utilizing the desk log for the save a deal, even once a week, goes a long way. So when it comes to those 5 do's, I just want to say, do it. Do it. Set your CRM up for success with the right custom rules, the right custom statuses, the right processes, the right content within the templates, the right text templates. Set your dealership up for success and some accountability with Vin call tracking, with SMS texting, make sure they're utilizing video as well. And then you manage, you inspect what you expect, utilizing Insight, coaching dashboard under Insights, utilizing the desk log to save deals. And you do those 5 things, you are going to unequivocally sell more cars every day moving forward once you make that change than today, without question. I want to jump into some of the don'ts. I want to say, don't forget to check your lead sources regularly. So I see this very common. There's several different, I mean, Car Gurus is one, and TrueCar is most certainly, if you're still on TrueCar, is another, that those providers will go and you do not get that lead source until they have submitted that, until the customer has submitted that lead through that channel. So if you go back in, and if you do still have TrueCar, you go into your ILM settings and you click on the pencil, you scroll down through your lead sources. Almost every week with TrueCar, you will find a new TrueCar lead source that is attached that you need to reattach to that unique TrueCar process. Why? Because customers that enter through TrueCar aren't all the same, should not be handled the exact same way as somebody that came through your website. Granted, people that just come through regular TrueCar probably shouldn't be handled the same way that somebody comes through as TrueCar / American Express. So go and make sure, same with Car Gurus, you're attaching every single unique lead source to the correct processes. Otherwise, we are not delivering unique experiences to customers that contact us through there. Number 2, this just makes me mad. Someday, listen, I take things personally. Don't keep utilizing and allowing your team to send the Vinbrochure. Okay, it's stupid when I go in and I see somebody who receives an internet lead. They're graced with the privilege, because leads are not a right. They're a privilege with a responsibility. And all the people do is, first thing right out the gate, they open it up and they blast out a Vinbrochure. I can't. So just stop allowing your team maybe to start with it at the bare minimum. I won't bore you, and I thought about doing it just to be abusive to everybody on the call, but I won't bore you with how many pics and how much detail is within the Vinbrochure that you're sending over to customers, how long it is on a mobile device, how many scrolls you have to give to get to the bottom of that, and how, based on all the links within and all the pictures and all the formatting, you might be very well, if you're using it first, just sending your first engagement right into spam, right into the customer's junk folder. And then everything after you is going to be labeled, after you send them, is likely going to be labeled as spam as well. Nobody is looking at that Vinbrochure, scrolling down and saying, holy hell, color keyed mudguards. You're kidding me. Oh, look, this has got illuminated vanity mirrors. Nobody is that granular when reading these emails on mobile devices to get this. So this is why the beauty of it is being able to insert vehicles through that beautiful little VinSolutions thumbnail that shows a picture, shows some high points of the vehicle, shows a link back to that vehicle on your site, shows some pricing. That is what they should be sending long before they should ever use the Vinbrochure, because they said it can get you caught in spam if you send it too early, and moreover, great majority of the information on that is not relevant. Hey, I see you contacted us through our website. Thanks so much. Here's everything that was on that exact same page that you just looked at. It's not relevant. So stay relevant to your customers. Another don't, and again, some of this I'm just like ranting. Another don't is allowing salespeople to ask prospects to opt into SMS. And I'm going to touch on this in a minute. When a new internet inquiry, or any inquiry for that matter, comes in, the box on Vin under the customer profile is gray. And as we all know, if you click that and you start and you write a text, or you utilize a text template that you send back to the customer, if you do that while that is gray, then immediately something similar that will say, reply yes to receive messages from blank, reply stop to cancel, message and data rates apply. as we at DealerKnows have been looking at this for quite some time, when you send a request for the customer to opt in, you get about a 30% reply rate, 30% positive. So about 30% of customers will say yes. However, if you just put the right legalese on your website, so if you go to CarGurus or AutoTrader or Cars.com, all of them on their form field submissions will have a little legalese that says, by filling this out and submitting it, you're opting in to receive SMS text communication. So if you just have the right legalese on your website, because your lead source providers already have them, then you are protecting them to opt in. And we've worked at VinSolutions with over 30, well, I should say over, with 31 CRMs over the last, 18 years, 31 CRMs. And this is one thing that stands out for me with VinSolutions quite a bit, is that if you just go and you instead opt them into SMS text manually, provided you have legalese, go in, click on the customer's name, information of the customer profile, wherever that phone number is, you just click the button and opt them into text. This turns green, and then every immediate future text that you send them, they receive. Do not opt them in after sending an outbound request for them to opt in if they didn't. So by all means, I would recommend opting them in, because then instead of a 30% yes, what we see is almost an 80% engagement rate via text if you start texting customer, because now, as of 4 months ago, VinSolutions has that opt out. Now your text goes out with an opt out. That, coupled with any legalese on your sites, will and should protect you. Again, I'm no lawyer, but so long as the legalese on your lead forms and they're providing an opt out, that should allow your team to have far more engagement. And this is what frustrates me, is I talk to dealers every single day, even my own clients. They've heard me say this, and yet they still forget to not click that gray text box and send it out. So this needs to be consistently reinforced almost every single week until they get it. Again, I'm no lawyer. Number 4, for my don't overtask your managers. And I'm not saying this because, many of us have all been one. As I said, I told you the three core tasks that belong to every single manager. And I believe if we are constantly setting our sales managers up to endlessly send emails, send texts, make phone calls, take them out of the processes. The way we like to have managers tasked to do things inside VinSolutions CRM is not through text alerts, it's not through calls for them to make or emails for them to send. I like just utilizing the straight alerts and or urgent alerts and generic tasks, because I want them to pay attention on what they can and should be looking into inside VinSolutions to improve the customer experience, to bring a salesperson up and coach them on how to get them, how to contact or communicate or something to say or send to a customer. I just don't always need your managers doing it. Monkey see, monkey do. So if your salespeople never see your managers completing any task inside of the CRM, and yet they're loaded up with them, then they feel that they too can shirk their responsibilities. So instead of that, don't overtask your managers. Simply have the right tasks that they can pay attention to. They can drill in, not all day long, they can drill in and choose to get involved in to help further a customer to that next step. And my last don't is don't have nothing that exists under sales lead marked lost or sales lead marked that you need a custom rule for duplicate leads, because VinSolutions and all of their positives do to save double processes from happening, flip all duplicate leads as bad. And anybody who knows better knows duplicate leads are not bad. Now, granted, I understand with a lot of digital retailing tools out there, every single new step that a customer fills out on that digital retailing process that exists on your website is like first lead, first active lead, duplicate, back to back to back. But with each duplicate comes additional information that you're garnering from that customer. So very often that is information that you can use at your disposal to re-engage with them. If a lead comes in 7 days after their initial lead, very often it's because it's on a new car or through a new lead source, or provides a new form of contact in which to reach them, maybe a new phone number, new email address. All of those means it's not a bad lead and you need to re-engage with them. Doesn't mean you turn them active. It means with each duplicate lead often should come with it a task that goes outbound, so the salesperson is re-engaging with that customer. But then also, when somebody's lost, don't flip them to lost, don't flip them to bad just to alter your closing ratio. Make sure there's some follow-up that exists in there, not over follow-up, but just some follow-up that exists within lost, where you in the future, once we've captured their information once, you in the future can reach back out to them and re-engage them. But don't allow customers to just go away and die. But at the same time, don't leave them active forever either, active forever either. So so those are just a few the 5 don'ts that I want to stop throwing people away into those buckets. So again, don't you dare set your CRM up for failure. Don't let your team use the CRM because they think they know what the customer, well, maybe they know what the customer wants. But that doesn't mean that you should allow your team to go completely off the reservation, completely off track, and either choose to not follow up or choose to skirt the system by following up with a path of least resistance template, or take it upon themselves to say, I'm just going to write something myself every single time to every single customer, because then it's loaded with grammatical errors, it's loaded with spelling errors, it's never answering a customer's question, it's one sentence, and it's not the right language to use to engage and have smart conversations with customers. So by all means, utilize the templates. They can add to the templates. They can answer and address the customer's questions within those things that they're sending. But do not allow your salesperson to be in full control of whatever they want to do with whatever prospect. Hard code those things for them. So those are the 5 do's and don'ts that that I have. And I have one more slide that my last do and don't, and we can open it up for some questions if you want. But do feel free, if you have questions, if you call me out on anything, reach out to me, Joe at DealerKnows. But don't listen to all this and just go back to business as usual. If you've taken no notes, you can download a handout that I gave you, but at least go and pick 1 or 2 things that you can go in and change right away, because I promise you it will sell you vehicles and it will help you retain clients, which in my opinion is probably just as valuable, if not more, than selling new customers as well. So those are 5 things that you can start with and 5 things to run away from. And I want to thank VinSolutions again for giving me the opportunity to share this information with you.
Thank you, Joe, and really appreciate that content. We got a lot of comments and questions coming in from the audience. And before we get into those, just one quick plug. If there's anybody on the call right now who is trying to look for other tips to get the most out of VinSolutions CRM, you may want to check out our VinSolutions videos on YouTube, especially our quick tip video series. That can be helpful. And then if anyone joined late, you could just continue to submit your questions using the Q&A panel, and we'll get to as many as we can. And then to quickly announce our winners, Anthony Rossano and then Cheryl Edwards, you are both winners of $250 gift cards, and we will, congratulations, and we will send you those redemption codes to you probably sometime next week. And so let's go ahead and jump into these questions. So we had a question, Joe, do you have any templates that you think may be useful to share and would stay in the system?
Maybe useful to share and stay in the system. I guess I need a little more. So, first of all, every single unique lead source provider you have, just go and you need to understand what the customer has experienced up to that point. A customer who has been on Edmunds has received completely different information than the type of customer that's been on a TrueCar. A customer that's been on Auto Trader is different than the customer that's been on your own website. So I think go and look to say you definitely, at the bare minimum, need to have unique templates for a new vehicle, a used vehicle, a new vehicle that's in transit, a new vehicle that's not available any longer on your website, a new vehicle that needs to be ordered, special from the factory, a used vehicle that's no longer available, and then on top of that, unique for each individual source. I'm a big believer in starting conversations off and engagements the right way with customers. So as unique and customized as I can make those templates are great. And then unique templates, whether they be, well, and I'm going to say text, unique templates based on whether they are SMS text only, chat only, those need to look, feel considerably different, even from a formatting perspective. So, I mean, I do have a master account in VinSolutions with far too many templates. I mean, I am an overthinker, and I have every single time a client reaches out to me and says, "Hey, we just took on this new lead provider, and this is what they do." And I say, "Great, now I've got to go learn about this lead provider, and I've got to bring it out." One thing I think from a new car perspective that shows you what type of glutton for punishment I am, a bit of a masochist, is that I have gone and every single year, well, not year, sorry, make and model that exists, I've gone and created a unique template that I call a third-party validation template. Customers don't believe us. We'll always tell them that our vehicles are great vehicles, but I've gone and through the exhaustive process of finding 2 to 3 quality reviews written about, even if it's just a blurb, a word blurb, written about every single make and model that exists for the most part. I've never done Ferrari or Lambo or any of those. But because I think sometimes customers are still wishy-washy about the exact model they want, and for that reason, sometimes it's really good from a dealer's perspective. The salesperson can tell them the vehicle's great, and that the vehicle's here, and the vehicle's ready to be parked into their garage or driveway, and that the vehicle's ready to test drive, or can be brought to them. But a salesperson might not always be able to tell you what Motor Trend said, what Car and Driver said, what Left Lane News said. So go and build out some unique templates just for those that and replace that Vinbrochure to sell people on the uniqueness of each individual new car that you sell, because they will believe these third-party sources often more than us.
That's a really thoughtful answer, Joe. Thank you. And so another question, we had a couple questions around the coaching dashboard. So just to kind of put them together, someone asked if the coaching dashboard is different from the team performance dashboard, and they were asking about the different opportunities being active, lost, bad, or just active. So maybe if you have any comments on coaching versus team performance that would be helpful to the audience, we'd appreciate that.
I mean, so yeah, team performance. Well, first of all, that's why, as I said, one of those the last don't let a prospect hit lost or bad without, ideally, if it hits lost because it hit the end of a cycle. Because at the end of every single active, event that you have, eventually, if it initializes as an active prospect, eventually you want the system to mark it as bad. At the end of a long period of time, you want the system to mark that as bad, or I'm sorry, not bad, as lost. So with that said, when beyond that example, when it hits the end of its process, if customers are being marked lost or bad manually, those are things that you want to be alerted and triggered to, just to give it a real quick eyeball and be aware. Are they getting flipped to lost and or bad premature and or for the right reasons? And if you do that, then you don't need to worry about, you'll be able to sense trends on who keeps marking things as bad or lost premature. So going back to the dashboard or the team performance dashboard, I always use the coaching dashboard. It pretty much only shows active opportunities, because at the end of the day, so long as I'm covering my bases in the processes, then when it comes to a one-on-one coaching opportunity, I want to talk about low-hanging fruit, and I want to talk about those customers that are just outside the cusp, because what separates a manager and a salesperson is a salesperson pretty much knows the one way that they should be able to sell that customer a car. A manager knows every single angle. A good manager knows every single avenue in which to offer that customer and bring them into the store. So maybe it's introducing a lease payment, introducing a new vehicle that the salesperson is not privy to, introducing a vehicle that they're going to go acquire through another tool and acquire and match that customer up. Because another thing that we never talk about is on every single customer profile where there's that red notation that says vehicles no longer available. As a sales manager, I want to bring to my salespeople's attention, hey, listen, they were looking at this, it's been sold. I want you to be aware that there's also this. So change that in their customer profile, call them up or email them or text them this new alternative vehicle that they should consider because the other is no longer available. But those are things as a manager where you get to steer how the customer is followed up with by your salespeople if you're paying attention, but you only need to do that, in my opinion, on active leads. And again, the team performance dashboard is good, but a coaching dashboard, when I say one-on-one, I mean a one-on-one. I actually mean, like, 5-10 minutes alone with every single salesperson every single day, because the moment within 1 month you will help them sell 1 or 2 extra cars, and then they will be bought into the time. It's no longer a chore. It is an opportunity for them to hit their numbers.
That's a fantastic explanation, Joe. And just, I believe this question touches back on your visual icons for tasks. The audience member asked, and I think you said a performance manager taught you, but how do you add visuals to the process?
Well, yeah, Astro VM, it's really quick. It's just these little tags. You can get the regular tag, or it's called like an icon tag or something that you get, and you drop into the description. So what trick, you have to drop it in at the bottom of your words, not at the top of your words, but it's just a little piece of code that you can go and find the icon code and you drop it in right there. I think you might have to add it into the CRM or host it somewhere, but you can drop it right in there. You'll see that. I think VinSolutions nowadays does a pretty good job, depending on the PM, going in, inserting some of those in for their team. But your PM, you don't have to reach out to me on that. Reach out to your PM, but it's just a little piece of code. We went out and found some codes that we like that are unique to us at DealerKnows that are, pretty and fun and cute. And Vin has their own that they like using.
Thanks for that. That's a really great point. If anyone has particular questions about how to configure their setup and Vin CRM, the Performance Manager is a great resource to consult. And Joe, here's a question about your recommendations. Do you recommend allowing a text as a made contact in the settings?
Oh, great question. A text as a made contact.
Yes, sir.
So some, not all manufacturers allow a text to stop the clock, but I think that would depend on the manufacturer. When it comes to made contact, if a customer replies back to a text, that is absolutely made contact. Now, with that said, you should always, and this is as I said, the importance of those first engagements, you should always make sure somebody, I don't care if it's a manager, a BDC manager, an internet manager, internet director, general manager, or just a person that you hire, you should always have somebody going back in to double check 4 hours, 6 hours later, did my team do what we've asked them to do, send the right materials we asked them to send, and do it in a reasonable time frame. So, I mean, at DealerKnows, we have a tool that a software we built called Task Teacher. And Task Teacher is sort of, we become the watchful eye for dealers inside the CRM, because let's face it, the sales managers don't always have the time to do this for themselves. So we look through, not just initially when a lead first comes in, but we analyze the first 7 to 10 days of a lead's life, and we grade your salespeople, internet people, BDC agents as to how thoroughly they're following up with their leads. And we look at how quickly they're doing it across email, call, text, at different engagements, how many calls they're sending or they're making, how many texts they're making, if they're getting engagement, if they're asking the right questions, if they're sending out pricing, if they're sending the right templates, how much effort they give, if they're answering customers' questions. We have countless different what we call curriculum. Are they sending video? Are they sending the right video? We'll watch the videos. We will listen to the calls, because we want to make sure that, I learned a long time ago, and it sort of took the wind out of my sails, that when I became a trainer, 2008, I started DealerKnows, that I hate the phrase, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink. But the truth is, not everybody is capable of learning. Not everybody is worthy to be able to handle an internet lead, or God forbid, handle a call. So what I found is that it requires somebody else. It doesn't have to be an outside agency. It could be somebody in your own store to hold these people accountable and to make sure they are doing everything that's asked of them. Because Vin, as comprehensive and amazing as it is, does give or put a lot of onus on the salespeople to. It leaves it up to them if they want to click the mouse. It leaves it up to them if they want to pick up the phone. It leaves it up to them. They've not sent out anything that allows you to attach electrodes when somebody sits down in front of their CRM and shocks them if they don't do it right. That'd be great if Cox is listening, if you could go and build that. But so because of that, we grade them because grades hurt. Nobody likes getting a bad grade. D minus, C plus, A plus. And we are big believers in positive reinforcement as well. But do what you need to do to, and I forget this is where I trail off. Get what you need to do to track those customers completing their tasks the right way. I believe an engagement inbound via text absolutely is a contact made. An engagement back to an email is a contact made. Just sending an outbound text is not nothing. Sending an outbound email isn't a contact made. Picking up the phone and leaving a voicemail isn't a contact made. I need to see engagement.
That's a really excellent point. And just one question I've gotten a couple times here is, are we going to get a copy of a recording, or can I watch this later? The answer to that is yes, you can. It will be sent to the email you use to register within the next day or so. It'll come from GoToWebinar. And I think we maybe have time for one more question. And this attendee asked, is it necessary to use statuses if you're satisfied with the way that your custom rules and processes work? Or maybe differently. Go ahead.
No,
sorry.
No. That's a great question. So, is it necessary? I mean, hell, nothing's necessary. What I'd say is, like, I love the processes that I built, of course, because every single one of us in the automotive industry is a bit of an egotist, and I'd like to think that I've, put together a pretty reasonably solid process. So, don't get me wrong. If somebody is following up, and again, I've taken out all language such as, are you still in the market? Are you still interested? Are you still looking? Have you bought yet? All those sort of simple, dumb questions you can ask in emails that immediately a customer can answer one word to, yes or no, and prevent you from needing to follow up anymore. So I try to imbue all of our, templates and with smarter language, things where if a customer engaged with, it would still allow some level of follow up, or allows you to better understand where they are in their life cycle to purchase a vehicle. With that said, let's say you have one thing to do. Stop doing everything like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10, 14, 21, 31. Like, stop doing it like a calendar, because if everyone and all your competitors are built out the same way and they submit leads to 3 of you and everybody has a day 14 email set up, then they just get inundated on the same days. So think a little more intuitively about when customers and what day of the week customers engage with you on. But moreover, what I'll say is, if you've got something that's scheduled for day 14 and your salesperson communicates with that customer on day 13, and the customer alludes to them that they're probably 7 days away from making a decision, or I think we switched to this different vehicle, and you leave them on that same custom rule, knowing that you love your text that's going to go out on day 14, or your email that goes out on day 14, but that email says, hey, are you still in the market? And it comes from your salesperson, customer gets it and be like, Anthony, I just spoke to you yesterday. We just talked about this. So instead of incorrect language going out to customers, I always like being able to flip to statuses, because, and again, it's entirely up to you if you want to do it. I do it because I feel that just like the long distance as an example, if one of the goals of all of our follow-up is when can you have the opportunity to schedule a test drive, when would be the best time for you to stop in and test drive, today or tomorrow, but you find out that, or they alerted you that they live in Kansas, that godforsaken place, right? Am I right? Am I right, VinSolutions people? Then if they say that to you, but you're, 7 states away, then inviting them in for a test drive doesn't make sense. So some of the custom statuses I do hold true. Also a wish list, like for instance, inviting somebody in for a test drive and keeping on the same task, but you don't have the vehicle, your team has built out a vehicle in the wish list for them, then what are we following with them up about? There should be a wish list status that you also flip into a wish list status that in turn attaches a wish list process. So the language in which your team is instructed to reach out to them or anything automated goes out to them is in line with the fact that we know we are turning over every single leaf to try to find this vehicle for you. Have your parameters changed on what you're looking for, or have you if you have you found it, how can I assist you further, those type of things. But I think the language and the messaging, that's why I say content is the start of catsup, needs to change based on where the customer is in their engagement.
Thank you so much, Joe. Really thorough, really methodical answers, really a lot of thought put into them. And I think that brings us to the end of the broadcast. So thanks so much, Joe, for joining us today. And we really, for the audience, thank you for joining us as well. We really hope that today's webinar helps you identify more opportunities and manage more effectively using VinSolutions CRM. And you can see Joe's contact information there up on screen. And we do ask that you please complete our 3-question exit survey on your way out. We will use that to know whether or not we hit the mark today and how we can improve these broadcasts in the future. So thank you so much. Exactly. We like high ratings. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.